All right, I think we're live now. Okay, here we go. Hopefully, people can hear this. Yep, that's right. Okay, so welcome everyone to the garage in cold Central Ohio, just outside of Columbus. My name is Mike. May have met before at the racetrack. Hopefully, we have. Hopefully, we've gotten along well. But it's currently a balmy, I'm going to say 25-ish degrees outside. Got a little bit of snow. And we are in my garage, which is where the car lives most of the time between races, although we kind of pass it around between a couple team members as well. Currently, you may notice that it looks like a lot of the car is torn apart, and that's because it is. Our engine is sitting right here on a stand, ready to get rebuilt, and I'll kind of go into that a little later. So I wanted to do a little bit of a year-end review, maybe get some more subscribers. I don't know that anybody really cares about what we do racing a Merkur. Probably a lot of people don't even know what a Merkur is. So let's start with that. So again, my name is Mike. Mike B. I'm on the Lemons forums as KCar Mike, KEI. I got that nickname because I used to have a Suzuki Cappuccino that I drove around at Mid Ohio and a couple places around Columbus. But I have since sold that car, and now I'm the exciting team owner. I don't know if I could say owner because it's more of a democratic group of people. I would say team organizer for Project Merkur space program. We got that name originally because Merkur is just the German word for Mercury, and we showed up at our first race, pit race, I think 2023, with a 1/5 scale capsule of the Mercury space capsule on our roof, and we raced our first Lemons race with that. Shouldn't say raced because that race was actually a real big pain. But if you see on top of our car, we actually have two mounting bracket channels right here with bolt holes. That is to hold the 1/5 scale fin in place. We don't race with it as much anymore because we're a little worried about a piece of 1/2 inch MDF just flying off at 100 miles an hour on a racetrack and ruining somebody else's day. So we don't race with that with the prop anymore. But we left the channels there just in case. You can see, so our race car is a 1989 Merkur, Merkur XR4TI, but it's been changed more to an XR8 because we have a small block Ford 302 drivetrain that we run in here. Just a very stock kind of old motor configuration. We do have the rear end to point and watch myself on the screen at the same time. Not doing a very good job of it. Have the bi-wing spoiler, the dual spoiler. The earlier Merkur XR, I think it was through 84 through 87 that the dual was on there. Then they had a single spoiler, but the dual one looks cool, so we picked one up and slapped it on there. Don't have much in the way of aero on this car other than that. We do have a wide body kit that we ended up sourcing from the UK. It's was used for actual real XR Sierra Cosworth racing. So we managed to find a place that still makes those molds and got the wide body kit on here. So that's kind of like our only aero upgrade to the car. Other than that, it's pretty much just a stock chassis with a roll cage in it. And everything else that moves or spins has probably been broken and changed at this point. So if you've seen our car before, you've seen that it's sometimes is fast, a lot of times is broken. We're working on the reliability of things. That's what we've been trying to do, at least for the last couple years, as we've done races. We've done races in 24 Hours of Lemons. We've raced with Lucky Dog. We really like Lucky Dog. Shout out to Kathy. They run a really good race. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to have many races around here in the Midwest now that pit race closed. So yeah, we've also done NASA Trek, TREC. We've used those races as kind of like 4-hour endurance race tests to kind of test out our team and have a go at things. And those have gone pretty well for us for testing purposes. Of course, Lemons and Lucky Dog, you've got like 8 plus 7 hours. You're doing like 15-hour races across 2 days. So that's been pretty brutal on the car, as you can imagine. But we've kind of, dialed it in. Some days we've had successes, some days not. Got a couple Lemons trophies around the garage, none of them within view of the camera. I'm not going to rip them off the car, but we've won a couple times in the last couple of years, so I don't want to discredit any of our team's effort. It's a monumental effort with this car, where you can essentially you're making all of your own parts because there are no Merkur performance parts. There's some stuff for like the Sierra Cosworth in the UK, but it's pretty unobtainium, and like, a set of Group A Sierra front knuckles is going to run you $2,500. So of course we don't do that. So we're bolting our own. We're trying to Lego together other pieces of other cars. So we've got other Ford parts on here, just parts from everything that we can get. We've got wheel bearings from a Lamborghini Huracan now in the rear end because we lit those on fire at pit race this year. All sorts of interesting. So that's a little bit about me, about the car. Again, car originally had it's always a front engine, rear wheel drive car, but it came with this anemic 2.3 liter turbo Lima motor from Ford stock. That engine was already tossed in the garbage can when we got this car. We got this car with a V8 swap in it, and then actually cracked the rear main cap off the back of that. I actually think I have that in the box right here. Let me show that out, because that'll be an interesting show and tell for our first live stream here. So this was from the first engine, and this is the rear main cap that goes and holds the crankshaft in the back of the block. And we were at Gingerman, I think 2023, still that first year. And we finished the race okay, and then came back, and I went to do the maintenance, change the oil, and 0.7 liters or quarts, like not even 1 quart of oil came out of the back of the motor. And we were like, uh-oh, something's wrong. So we were thinking maybe the rear main seal was leaking and it was blowing stuff out. So we take the transmission out, take the flywheel off, take everything off, get to the back of the engine, and we're looking at this piece, upside down, and we see this little tiny crack right there. And we're like, I wonder if that is, I wonder what that is. So at that point of time, we knew we were taking the engine out. And sure enough, when we flip it over, take the oil pan off and take this off, it came apart in 2 pieces. And every Ford guy that we've shown this to says, I've never seen that failure before. So at least we're failing in new and interesting ways in our quest for racing glory. So yeah, 2025 in review. This is about 2025 after all. So it started off, we had done some prep work for the 2025 year over the winter last year as well. Had a pretty good feeling going in, and we went to pit race at the start of the season. We did a 24 Hours of Lemons race there, and it was going good on Saturday until our wheel bearings caught on fire. And that's the rear wheel bearings in the back here. There's a carrier housing where the CV passes through, And the stock design we were actually using the bearing carriers off of the Merkur Scorpio, which is like the 4-door version that Ford came out with to kind of complement the XR. Slightly different chassis, but the bearing carriers fit and they were slightly larger, so we were using those. And we had been using them fine for a while, but we had finally dialed in our rear suspension with some rear adjusters and beam angle adjustments that we had in the back. So now that the rear suspension was dialed in, we were able to put full force on it, and that in turn caused our wheel bearings to fail spectacularly. And by spectacularly, I mean it actually caught the grease in the wheel bearings on fire. It was burning and charring. The pieces of wheel bearing were welding themselves to the housing. And the funniest story here, if you go watch the Lemons wrap-up video from 2025 Pit Race, they mentioned this. But we had a garage space, and the judges were in the same garage as the lower garages at Pit Race. And we pulled our, the wheel's about to fall off. So we pulled into the garage, get it up and start working on it. And it was a little cold, so I think we had the garage doors closed. But the Lemons judges, they sent out a text message to in the paddock messaging system that they use for races, and they said, please check your gas tanks. We're smelling propane down here. And what it turns out that when you light Timken bearing grease on fire, the hydrocarbons burning off of that grease are going to smell a lot like a burning natural gas or propane gas. So we incidentally caused a gas scare by lighting our wheel bearings on fire at Pit Race. So that was the end of the day Saturday. One of the heroes of our team of the space program, Gary, drove through the night back to Columbus from Pittsburgh and back to pick up a spare set of carriers that we had and a spare set of bearings. We were out again on Sunday at that race, and what happened, one of our drivers, our fast drivers, was in and turning good laps. I think we were throwing down 205 and 210 at Pit Race, which in an endurance race at great lap time. And as he was coming down the back straightaway, he passed a car on the left, and then there was a slower car that was hugging the right side of the track, and he got right back to that last kink in the back straightaway to the right. And instead of just continuing and hugging that wall, being the slow Subaru or whatever that it was, he just drifted right out in front of us. Our guy laid off, tried to ditch, tried to keep it on track though, and because he tried to keep it on track right around that kink, he ended up oversteering, and he went kind of sideways, went in, and went face first into the tire wall on the inside of I think what it was turn 12, right before you get to the 180 turn at the back of the straightaway. So driver was okay, of course. It was a very gentle hit, just enough to knock the water out of the tires and the tire wall. No problem in the bumper. We straightened out the bumper a little bit, put a new tow hitch on, and sent our next driver out. And then after that, we had some power issues. So the fuse kept popping in the car. And what we actually found out later on, this was unrelated, but we didn't really finish the race because we kept popping fuses and having to get towed off the track, which is no fun at all. But what we found out after that was that it was self-inflicted on that mistake. We had our cool suit wiring, which is in the trunk. It's on one of those disconnects that you see in like little like battery charger cables, where one piece of metal is exposed and one is not, and it's only one way so that they can only link together one way. We had it wired backwards, where the exposed terminal was positive and the closed one was negative. So when that was flopping around in the trunk, it wound up making contact and blowing the fuse that it was on, which was enough to I think it was a sub fuse, but it was enough to blow the main fuse for the car or the fuel pump or something like that. So that was pit race in the spring. Not a spectacular race, but we were just happy to have it. So we went back after that. We ended up, and I mentioned before, we have Lamborghini Huracan wheel bearings now. So there are parts on this car now from every single continent except Antarctica, and Australia was the one that we added this year in the spring. So our mindset with this car is everything we break, the first thing we do is we fix it with the replacement parts that we can. If it breaks again for a second time, we are going to put our heads together. We're going to engineer something that will not break. And by that, I we'll find something else. We'll make our own parts if we have to, but if it's a Merkur thing and it's going to break, we're just going to be done with it, and that's it. So what we wound up finding is there was a guy in Florida who actually made one of the brake kits that we used for our car that had like a Focus RX brake adapter. And that guy had made these really nice CNC machine parts for a race team in Australia that does rallycross, flying through the sand dunes and stuff of Australia, for a Ford RS200, which is an awesome car. But he basically said, like, these guys, it's the same bolt pattern. These guys put it on their car, and they went from changing wheel bearings every like 4 hours to not having to change wheel bearings at all in 4 years. And I was like, yes, that's what we're after. Can we get a pair of those? And he's like, well, got to talk to the race team from Australia. So we ended up getting a set of these bearing carriers. They required some, custom stub axles as well. But these things are beefy. They have, I think we went from like a 45 millimeter tapered roller bearing on each side to a single double roll cartridge style ball bearing that's like 80 millimeters. They are seriously beefy. And we ran the rest of the season on those wheel bearings, no problem at all. So that was what we took care of after race in the spring. Everything else we kind of left alone as it was. In the summertime, I think it was either late June or early July, we did our destination trip of the year. We try to do one race a year that's like at a heritage track or something where we do where we want to go, like just drive the extra towing distance. So we did VIR this year, and that's because Lucky Dog managed to get a weekend at VIR. So I had never driven VIR before. Two of the other guys on the team had. We decided we were going to take the car there, and man, it was a great race. We did okay. We didn't podium. I think the highest we placed was like 5th place in C class at Lucky Dog. The other Merkur that races in Lucky Dog, the nice one, Paul Weeks owns that one. It's called Bad Medicine Racing. Their car is really nice. Their team is well put together. They got a couple crew people. They had their stuff together, so they just had better strategy for the fuel stops and stuff. And honestly, the only thing I remember about that race is it was so hot that I got sick with heat exhaustion. Not only that, but because I had heat exhaustion, I caught a cold as well. So I was sick for like 2 weeks after VIR. I got my wife sick too. Man, I was just really beat about that race. So it was great. VIR was a great track. VIR was great facilities. The garage we rented was great. We had the hotel rooms above the garages. Those were awesome. The staff at the track was great. All the people from Lucky Dog were great. It was so hot. They were limiting driver stints to 1 hour, but it was actually cooler in the car with the cool shirt than it was sitting in the paddock in the hot pit under, the baking concrete and tarmac. My heater just kicked off. Hopefully I'm still, hopefully I'm still putting in some audio here that you can hear. I'm trying to use my phone as the audio source, but we'll see how this turns out. I've been going for 20 minutes now. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to get to work here too in a second because I got to start tearing some of this down. So anyways, we do VIR, and it's super hot. We got everybody had good laps in, didn't get any accidents, didn't have any mechanical issues at all. Everything just went great. We used Hankook RS4 tires for the first time. Normally we were using Azeni 615s, and we used RS4s because of the tire contingency in Lucky Dog, and we got really excellent wear characteristics out of them. We did a whole weekend on them, and they still had at least a day or two left. We also got a kind of a racing veteran, Tim Burr. Most of you know Tim Burr. He's a judge in Lemons, but he was there and he took a stint in our car. Another friend of ours, Christian, he came to crew with us and he did a couple stints in the car. Had a lot of fun. We were doing good laps there. I think they what was it, a 2:30? I think we did in the Merkur there, which is just fabulous lap time for us. Not me. I'm the slow driver, so I probably did like a 2:42 or something. So yeah, that was our summer race. We took the rest of the summer off, and then really we only lined up one race in the fall. So we only did 3 races this year, and our last race was, of course, at Pit Race with Lucky Dog. Now that's like the sad story, of course. Everybody, if you're a racer by now, you know that Pit Race is closed. Sold off to private equity or something. Who knows what it's going to be? Maybe it's going to be a data center, maybe it's going to be houses, but it's not going to be a racetrack that we know of. And that's just sad because it really was our favorite track, even though we're in Columbus and Mid Ohio's half the distance as Pit Race. The facilities at Pit Race were just world class. The garages were nice, the showers were nice, the bathrooms were nice, the pro shop was nice, the staff was nice. The flaggers, we got flagged a couple times there at Pit Race for doing things that weren't actually bad, so I can't really say too much about the flaggers, but it sucks for them to also lose their opportunities as well. But yeah, that's just a big hit on the entire community, and we're feeling it as well with everybody. And the good news, though, Lemons managed to get 2 races in Ohio for the 2026 season, one at Mid Ohio, which we're super stoked about, and one at Nelson Ledges, which we're less stoked about. If you look at the last video on our channel from Nelson Ledges, you'll kind of understand why. So Pit Race for the fall for us. Things were going well. We were disappointed because they didn't manage to get a practice day together. We wanted as much time as we could at Pit Race before it closed. Our car wound up doing, I think, all but the last hour and 20 minutes of Saturday at Pit Race. And as our guy was going around, he didn't notice that the temperature on the coolant gauge went whoop all the way to the top. But he very much noticed it as he was going through the S's in the back, and our one of the hoses blew off. One of the coolant hoses blew off and sprayed down the front of the car with coolant. Not coolant, with water. We don't run coolant, of course. So he cut the car off and coasted all the way around, just nursing the car back to the pits. We looked at it, the radiator was empty, the hose popped off, standard head gasket failure. And we're not the type of team that is really looking to get heroic fix awards at Lemons or anything. So we packed it in at that point of time. So he didn't finish the day, didn't do Sunday, hung out and still got as much FaceTime and memory time walking around taking pictures of pit race as we could, since it was our last chance to be there. But that was a sad end of the season, and that kind of brings us full circle to why we are here right now, with this, which is our engine. So, so yeah, it's on a stand. Got it out not last night, a couple nights ago. It's maybe leaking some fluids on the ground, but whatever. But we run a standard 2-barrel carb, nothing special, no special aluminum heads, no special camshaft, anything. So this engine makes 210-ish horsepower if we're lucky. We had been kind of chasing down oil leaks that leaks out of the back. It looks like maybe it's still the rear main seal, that two-piece cap with the one-piece rear main seal tends to seep oil down the back. We do have some nicer oil pan on here to try to keep it from grenading. This motor has been rebuilt once already. Currently, it's a 302. We've got another donor block that we're going to kind of mill these into like 306s for, because we think, well, I mean, you can tell by this oil filter right here, man, that's really melted on there. But this used to be a filter. Now it is basically oil reservoir with how much oil is on it. But we had so much blow by in this motor that we knew after this year we were already going to be rebuilding it. But it's beyond the point now where you can just rebuild it and give it the rings treatment. So this one is going to get bored to a 306, and we'll go from there. So that's going to be our winter project. Everything else on the car is still pretty much okay. We only made it halfway through one race, so we took I took the rear diff oil out, and it looked pretty much brand new. Transmission fluid, we have a T5 transmission on the back of this Ford, and we run D4 ATF, Redline D4, and that works out really good for us as well. So yeah. That is the winter project. That's why the crane's here. That's why this is all in disarray. There's fluid containers all over the floor here that you can't see. And that's how our 2025 went. So moving forward a little bit about 2026, we're going to be back. We're going to build a motor. It's already in progress. We've already got the machine shop picked out and stuff like that. But 2026, I think we always plan, I think, to 4 races, and sometimes we wind up doing 3. So, plan for 4, hope for 3, do what you can. We're definitely going to do Mid-Ohio with Lemons. That's obvious. I think we're going to do NASA Trek. If you didn't know this, NASA Trek was mostly holding 4-hour races in 2020 or 23, 24, and 25. I think they've been around for a couple of years now. And in 2026, they're actually going to host full weekend races as well. 7+7, 8+7, something like that. I'm going to grab a socket here. I think I'm not super great at guessing the size of sockets, but let's see if I can get this one. Hey, I actually did a good job on that. Picked out the right one. It's a 13 millimeter, which probably means it's like not actually US spec. I'm gonna just pop this pulley off, or not, because that is might need to get this belt off first. All right. Well, anyways, I'm not so good at talking and doing stuff at the same time, so maybe I won't be working on this in casting at the same time. So 2026, Mid-Ohio for sure. NASA Trek, we're going to do one of their races. They've got a full weekend at Nelson Ledges, I think a full weekend at Gingerman, and a full weekend at NCM. So we're going to pick one of those to do. And then Lemons is doing Nelson Ledges. We're not super fans of Nelson Ledges at all, but you know, racing is racing, right? We'll take it where we can get it, and I'd rather race than wait for Nelson Ledges to also close. So hopefully they'll make some improvements there, and we'll have fun. So we'll probably do NCM, and we'll probably do Gingerman. I think NCM's a really great track. It's a little bit far. There's a time zone change because it's in Central Time and we're in Eastern. It's like a 6-hour drive or so there and a 7-hour drive back. But NCM's a really great track. Love the sinkhole. The facilities there are really good now that they've been rebuilt after that tornado. All right, people are actually joining. Wow, cool. Well, hi guys, and Jim, who is on the track, thank you, is telling me which socket is correct. But I will get to that. I'm undressing the motor so that I can load it on a trailer and go to Jim's house to do the real teardown. So yeah, NCM and Gingerman. Gingerman, you know, it's the facilities are rustic, but it's a really nice laid back track. What I like about Gingerman is the people that are always there, the other racing teams, like the Lemons race there. It's full of people really nice. Like it is the quintessential Midwest nice person race. And as we've gone to like pit race the last couple of years, you get the people that come over from New Jersey, and no offense to the people from New Jersey, but they drive like they're from New Jersey on track. And that is, you know, people making poor racing decisions, cutting you off, dive bombing you in corners and stuff. But in the Midwest, it's like, you know, everybody's like out there to finish the race together. So Gingerman, even though it's I would say it's a beginner level track, it's all flat, but that's nice. You can push maybe a little harder than you would at other tracks because you're not worried about flying off into a barrier. Like we've talked about Watkins Glen, but Watkins Glen is fast and dangerous, and those barriers are right next to the track. And if you put one wheel out of place, you're going to have a bad time. So Mid-Ohio, Gingerman, NCM, maybe Nelson as a fourth race. We'll see. But that's probably how 2026 is going to go for us. But obviously, first step is to get a working engine back into the car. We've got some safety stuff to do. We're upgrading our 5-point to a 6-point belt harness. I've got that's in the box right here. This is fun. Some of the people on our team are getting a little old and long in the tooth, myself included. Actually, my birthday was yesterday, but I am still in my 40s. But this guy right here, this is the secret sauce. This is a Generation 2 Toyota Prius power assist steering module. So we need to put our steering wheel on one side of this and put our steering rack on the other side, and then hook up 3 wires, power voltage, power grounded trigger, and then we're going to basically have electronic power steering in our car. Right now we have a manual steering rack. We have manual brakes. Everything is manual, and it feels absolutely great when you're out on the racetrack. After an hour and a half, you can tell in your upper shoulders and your upper arms that you've been driving a car that has manual steering. It's not like it's uncontrollable or anything. It's just that you feel every single inch of the track. So having a little bit of a help bumping the steering in either direction, I think will go a long way. And then the other stuff like loading it on a trailer and navigating the paddock without power steering will become a lot easier as well. So yeah, that is the common swap there. Generation 2, I think that's 2005 2004 through 2007 or 2008, sort of in their Prius. So we're doing power steering upgrade. Our fire bottle is getting recertified right now. That's somewhere in the UPS network between here and I think South Carolina, where Lifeline does fire bottle recerts. I need to make sure to send my Hans device in. I've got a next gen. I think that expired finally this year. And I've been scoping out getting another helmet too. I think SA 2015 is finally over, or whatever my current helmet is. So I'm going to look at an SA 2020 helmet, which I think gets you another couple years. So I'll be taking a look at a new helmet this year as well. Other car improvements that I think we've got planned. Eventually, we want to do the fuel system. Word is out so far on what our carburetor is going to be for 2026. We might update from a 2-barrel to a 4-barrel carb. With the 306, it'll be a little more thirsty anyways. And if we do that, our stock Merkur fuel tank, we're just going to be able to drive less on track if we're using more fuel. Right now, I think we get 8 or 9 gallons an hour for fuel. And that's all right. But if we're doing 4 drivers in 8 hours, we really need that 2-hour mark, and we can't hope that we're going to get yellow flags unless it was Lemon's pit race, in which case you can count on yellow flags. Maybe Lemons at Nelson will be able to count out the yellow flags there. Narrow track with cars, especially if it rains. So yeah, like we'll see where that goes. So if we do a fuel system update, we're going to probably invest the money to do it the right way. We'll see if we go with a fuel cell. Since we race in a couple different series, the stock tank is normally advantageous to us because it's easy to pass the rules of NASA and SCCA and Lemons and Lucky Dog if you just keep the stock fuel system. But if we start doing a fuel cell, then everybody's got different rules of, do you need a metal cover? Do you not need metal cover? I know like NASA Trek has rules on what you can use for like quick fills for dry brakes. So yeah, that'll have to be planned out if we get that far. We might not get that far. It depends. We're all kind of doing this in our spare time. Nobody's a pro. So yeah. Other plans for 2026. I think we'll keep the paint job for now. Oh, for not for Christmas, but a friend of mine donated a vinyl cutter to our cause. So Rachel, if you ever do watch this, thanks for the vinyl cutter. So we're going to be able to cut our own numbers, which will be helpful because we can't ever seem to get the same number. Right now we are in our Lucky Dog livery right here for number 7, which doesn't even really look like a good number 7. I don't know. The font was really weird, but we got it from their official number place. So it's good. But we tend to have like 7, 77, 17, 71, some combination of ones. But we have numbers on the back, numbers on the hood, numbers on both sides, and numbers in both directions on the top of the car. Just in case you're on your side, they need to know what number you are. So the only place we don't have numbers is on the bottom of the car, but I guess we could put them there too. But with a vinyl cutter, I'll be able to just get a big old roll of white vinyl or black vinyl and just cut our own numbers, and we'll just be able to peel them and stick new ones on for each race. So that'll be super cool for next season. Cooling system, cooling our motor has never really been a problem. We're going to have to pressure test our radiator just to make sure it didn't have a leak. Obviously, something led to the head gasket failure that we had at pit race. So we're going to tear this engine apart to figure out if we can spot exactly what happened there. Hopefully it wasn't something severe as like the block cracking. Somebody was telling me that somebody said that they usually see these 302 blocks fail by cracking in the valley. So we'll have to take the heads and the intake off and kind of tear it down to the short block to check that out, which we'll do. And then, maybe this will go to the machine shop, get magnafluxed and checked for cracks and stuff. But we definitely want to identify whatever source was leaking a small amount of coolant before it became a problem where it overheated, got enough air in the system where it eventually, flashed to steam and then pressurized and blew the head gasket. So um, that sort of like uh, autopsy of this engine, so to speak, will be something we do over the next, 4 to 6 weeks or so. I think that first race that we're up for, that Lemons at Mid Ohio, is in April, so that's probably going to be our our starting race of the year. Normally, what we would do is we would do that. We would try to do like a HPDE or something to kind of like break in the motor a little bit, not immediately jump into a race. Um, yeah, technically though, the Merkur is street legal. So if I need to break in the motor, it's got historic plates on it, and I can just drive it around. You got to use hand signals. If you remember the book, turning right is this, turning left is that, and braking is this with a wave. I forget exactly. Oh, well, we do have working brake lights. We just don't have working turn signals. I think the only light we're required by law to have that we don't have is a reverse light, and that's because the reverse sensor on the transmission is just a plug right now. So I think we wired all the lights on the stock tail lights to be brake lights, so we don't have any turn signals, reverse light in the back. But yeah, we could probably just drive it around to break in the motor a little bit. Okay, well, my heater just turned off. So it must have gotten hot enough that it turned off. Still a little chilly with the 20 degrees, but I think that's about wrapping up what I wanted to go through. And I've been at this for what, 42 minutes now, so that'll make a good little long video. I'll probably do this again. Hopefully I haven't been talking into an empty microphone this whole time. Hopefully the phone pairing with my earbuds work. That's what really annoys me about watching people do garage videos is they'll talk to their laptop, which is 10 feet across the room, and I'll sound a little bit like this. So I tried to rig this up so I would be able to talk, but here we are. So if you don't follow the channel, hopefully follow the channel. We normally post our Garmin Catalyst race videos kind of like as uncut footage of just us doing a race. We've tried live streaming in the past. It didn't work very well. And like the real live streaming systems like the Sentinel and the Candelaria and those things are usually pretty expensive. Plus you've got to pay for the cell phone plans. So I don't know that anybody really wants to tune in and watch 8 hours of a Merkur going around a racetrack. But if you do, you can at least catch our recorded videos. Normally, it just takes a long time to cut those together after we get home. And of course, I'm tired from unloading all the tools in the car and stuff. So within a week after each race, we'll have videos posted. So go ahead and subscribe, tell your friends, leave comments, whatever, say hi. Especially if you've watched this now and you've stayed this long. Find us at the next race. Let's after the race day is over, let's crack open a beer together and tell stories about times we almost lit our car on fire with wheel bearings, stuff like that. But yeah, we're all doing this for fun, having a fun time. So hopefully you are too. That's it. I'm gonna wrap up. Thanks for watching.